everyone. Okay, so I'm making this video to show you guys how to turn your research that you have been working on for the past couple weeks into a biography. So if you remember back when we were in school, we talked about what a biography was. So what is a biography? A biography is a piece of writing that tells the true story about another person's life. Okay. Usually it starts from the beginning of the person's life and then it ends at the end of the person's life. All right. So far we've started part one. You guys for the past couple of weeks have been doing part one. Okay. It says use the graphic organizer to research information about your Black Panther Party member. You guys have already done that. So great job. The next part, which you're going to start working on today, says write a biography that tells the true story of your Black Panther Party member's life. Okay, so if you remember when we talked about this in school, I showed you guys my example of Martin Luther King because I was just doing something outside of the Black Panther Party. So what I'm going to show you today is how I turn my research from Martin Luther King, okay, into a biography. And I'm going to actually do it on this video with you guys, okay? So I'm actually going to take my camera out of the way because I want you to focus solely on my research and what I'm going to turn my research into, okay? But what we're going to want to do is this week, what we're going to focus on is just the first 5 boxes of our research. We're going to start at the beginning of our member's life. Okay, remember, I'm doing Martin Luther King Jr., and you guys are going to do the member that you were assigned, that you've done your research on. All right, so I'm actually going to use my purple puzzle piece, my Google Read and Write, to talk and type today. All right, it's going to be a little bit easier to do that just so I can type a little bit faster. And if you guys want to use talk and type, you guys are able to do so. I know it's easier sometimes to talk instead of typing, so go for it. All right, so I want to start off taking my bullet points, okay? I want to start at the beginning of his life. I want to start with his date of birth. So how can I turn this into a sentence? Well, instead of just saying January 15th, 1929, I am going to say Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15th, 1929. All right, I'm going to stop there. I'm going to edit this a little bit because sometimes talk and type doesn't do exactly what I want it to. So Jr. would be capitalized. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15th, there's always a comma, 1929. And I'm actually going to add my hometown into this same sentence. So his hometown is Atlanta, Georgia. I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, in Atlanta, Georgia, period. All right, so once again, this shouldn't be capitalized because it's not a new sentence. And every time you say a city and then a state, you give a comma. So here's my first sentence. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15th, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. Next, I want to take a look at his family because I already did his date of birth. I want to save his date of death for the end. I did his hometown, and I'm going to talk a little bit about his family. So as you see, I have a list of his mother, his father, his sister, his wife, his sons, his daughters. Okay, right now I'm just focusing on the beginning of his life. So I really am going to take the information about his mother and his father, and I'm going to create this into a nice full sentence, and I'm going to add a little bit more detail. Okay, I'm not going to just list his mom and dad's name. I'm going to turn it into something like this. He was raised by 2 loving parents, comma, whose names were Alberta Williams King and Martin Luther King Sr., period. Again, I want to edit this a little bit. 2 loving parents would not be capitalized, whose names were Alberta Williams King and Martin Luther King, I want to abbreviate that, Sr. I'm going to even add a little bit more to connect this to who Martin Luther King was. So I'm going to say, he was very close with his parents and shared many similar views with his father, comma, later following in his footsteps as a civil rights activist, period. As you notice while I'm talking, I also am including my punctuation. I'm including periods at the end of the sentence and commas in the middle. Okay. So again, sometimes doesn't exactly pick up what I want to say. That's why I always want to go back and reread it. He was very close with his parents and shared many similar views with his father, later following in his footsteps as a civil rights activist. Very good. All right. So now that I'm done talking about a little bit about his family, I'm going to go into education. So Martin Luther King studied sociology at Morehouse College. So again, I got to add a little bit more detail. I'm not going to just list where he went to school. Now I'm going to put it into something like this. Martin Luther King Jr. was a very intelligent man, period. He studied sociology at Morehouse College, comma, and received his PhD, period. All right, so let's go back in and edit that. I'm going to abbreviate this just because I keep using his name. MLK Jr. was a very intelligent man. Definitely not a she, right? He was a man. So I want to say he studied, he did that in the past. He studied sociology at Morehouse College and received his PhD. Very good. All right, so what do I got? I've got his date of birth, his hometown, his family, a little bit of his family, his education, and the last box we're going to do this week is his occupation. Okay, again, I'm not going to just write what he was, a reverend, a pastor. I'm going to put in a little bit more detail. I'm going to make full sentences out of this, and I'm going to connect it to what I'm going to talk about later. Okay, I'm setting myself up for what I'm going to talk about later. So if I'm continuing in this order, right? First I said he was born, okay? Then I said who his parents were. He went to school. Then I'm going to talk about what happened after he received his PhD. After graduating, comma, he was a very influential part of his community, period. He became an activist, comma, humanitarian, comma, civil rights leader, comma, and was also an American pastor of the Baptist Church, period. All right, let me go back in and edit that really quickly. After graduating, he was a very influential part of his community. He became an activist, humanitarian, civil rights leader, and was also an American pastor of the Baptist Church. All right, so right there, that is my first paragraph, okay? And it starts off with the beginning of Martin Luther King Jr.'s life, okay? The next paragraph that I'll talk about is going to be what he did in the civil rights movement, okay? I'm going to go into his speeches, his news stories, what he won, what he did. I'm going to talk about his nonviolent protesting, but that's going to be really the sole middle part of my biography because that has to do with the middle of his life, okay? So once again, for today, all you guys are doing this week, okay, what's going to be due at the end of the week is your beginning of their lives, okay? Your first paragraph is what I'm expecting you to do this week, okay? And again, your first paragraph is going to include the first 5 boxes: date of birth, hometown, family, education, and occupation, okay? The first 5 boxes. We are not talking about what they did as an activist yet. We're not going to talk about the Black Panther Party yet, how they were a member, not yet, okay? Remember, I did mine on Martin Luther King Jr., but you guys are doing yours on the person you researched for the past couple of weeks, okay? I hope this helped you guys. I hope you have a better idea of what you're doing for your biography. Make sure you guys include a little bit more details and make it a little more juicy. All right? If you have any questions, please email me. Join me on Google Meet from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock today or tomorrow. That's usually my Google Meet time. All right? Or you can even just comment on the assignment. All right, guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and get to working.